Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are watching this. Welcome back to a very special episode, 20th episode of the Since I Was Young podcast. Joining you as always is myself, Ewan and Alan. Alan, how you doing, sir? You all good?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Feeling a wee bit under the weather today, but that might just be for a lack of hearts potentially.
Yeah, exactly. It is kind of weekend of the international games as always, and Scotland has always just managed to just drag themselves through a 1-0
Oh,
fucking win against Moldova.
oh,
Jeez.
Jesus. Honestly, mate.
Can't stand it, mate. Honestly, can't stand it. But
Nah.
but as mentioned, it is not going to be talking about the international break because nobody wants to hear about that. So, as mentioned, it's going to be a very special episode. It's going to be slightly different to our usual sort of ones. We're not going to have a news segment to bring you. Sorry about that, Alan. But we're going to bring you a full eye on the Hearts and Hibs game next Sunday, 12th of September, 12 o'clock kickoff. First Edinburgh derby of the season, but more specifically, the first Edinburgh derby with us being a fan-owned club. And it's going to be absolutely electric. If you do to follow us on our socials, you will see that Alan has been a trooper, an absolute trooper, going from a night shift, staying up till the tickets went on sale that sold out in 6 minutes, which is unbelievable, but a fantastic thing at the same time. And we're going to the derby. We're going to the derby. Oh,
Ah,
honestly, mate. Can't wait. Can't wait,
um,
mate. Honestly.
mate, I was thinking about this the other day. I think it's at least 18 months, if not more, since I've been at Tynecastle. So it'll be unbelievable.
Dude, I've got to say, and this isn't a joke. I've got it might be about 10 years since I've been back at Tiny. Honestly, mate, I've not even
uh,
seen the brand new stand yet.
have
Like
you not?
I've still not seen it, mate. Still not seen
Oh,
it.
well, there we go, mate. There we go.
It's gonna be a beautiful day indeed, and hopefully we can wrap that up with a win. But yeah, so since this is a bit of a special with the podcast, with this being our 20th episode, and it's going to be a massive weekend next week, we thought we would bring some friendly faces that you will probably know as well from a fellow Hearts podcast. We got in contact with the Perth to Paisley podcast, both Daniel and Adam, and we asked them if they wanted to join us for our 20th episode to talk about the Mighty Hearts and the filth. And they graciously said yes. I'm sure it'll be a good chat. And before we dive in, as always, guys, we really appreciate all the new subscription, the likes and the views as well. And as always, if you do enjoy this Hearts podcast, please think about subscribing, smash that like button, and you can check out our socials on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at SIWY Pod. Our email is also in the description and on screen as always, since I was young 1874 at gmail.com. And alternatively as well, if you want to get in contact with us, you can. Alan's Twitter will be in the description, as well as my YouTube channel, What Ewan's Doing. And we will also leave a link to the Prepare for Two Ed Paisley podcast as well. And please check them out. Got some beautiful interviews, some great debates as well. So please check them out. So, Alan, are you ready for this lively chat? Are you expecting some debates, arguments, tussles for that?
Who knows? Who knows? It'll certainly be interesting to hear what the lads have got to say.
Definitely. But yes, so we do hope you enjoy it. So you're about to join myself, Alan, and the Perth to Paisley podcast, Daniel McIver and Adam Kennedy. We hope you enjoy. And here we are. So, as we just mentioned there, we are joined by the Hearts podcast, Perth to Paisley. Guys, thank you very much for joining us on this very special 20th episode of the Since I Was Young podcast. Thank you very much for joining us, lads. Are we all good?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having us.
No,
not a problem, mate. Yeah.
Cheers, boys. So This with the podcast is going to be all about the first Edinburgh derby of the season, which I'm sure that we can all agree is going to be electric. It's going to be a full house, and I'm sure we can all wait for it. So I'm going to jump straight into it now. Of course, on the 30th of August, we had the Heart and Skull Day, which made us the biggest fan-owned club in the UK. So I'm going to put the first question out there, and I'm going to throw it to. I think I'm going to throw it to Daniel first, and I'm going to see what he thinks. So, with this, was it being the first derby of the season, and more specifically the first the derby with us being fan owned, do you think that this is going to be one of the more sort of the bigger derbies that we've had, and do you think there's going to be a bit of added the pressure on that, or?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's most comparable probably in recent times to the relegation derby that was lined up when they came to Tynecastle, because Hibs will be coming with the idea of, right, we get to spoil the party. Last time we did, because we beat them 2-0, obviously. And then this time, they will be coming go, because I imagine, I don't know, if the club will be putting anything on in terms of just like, it's the first time that we're back since we're fan owned. But there's going to be a lot of enthusiasm. People are going to be happy anyway, but then on top of that, it is a derby. And Hibs fans, at least, will be going, we need to come here and we need to beat them so we can say that the first game that they were fan-owned, we beat them officially. So that's going to play into it. I don't know if it will play into Jack Ross's team talk, for example. It might play into Robbie Nielsen's, that he's just going, listen, this is our first match as a fan-owned club officially. Don't make it the first Edinburgh derby that also coincides with it, you end up losing, because fans will remember that longer than other just throwaway derbies.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I do see where you're coming from, because just as as you said there, if it does play part in the Robbie's team talk saying, right, boys, we're going 10 at the back, so it's all good there. It's all good. But Adam, what are your was it the thoughts on that, mate?
I'd probably go along with what Daniel said, and I think also another big factor is the fact that this will be the first league derby in a while, with us having come back up. No league derbies last season. Obviously, the one in the Scottish Cup, which was technically the season prior, and without fans. So obviously, being back in the top tier, a fixture that's now reintroduced to the top tier, full house. I think the atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric. Obviously, now it's sold out. And I think all these kind of little mini factors, a culmination of all that, just adds to the tension. The fact that both have obviously started the season so well, both 10 points from 4 games. When you actually break it down, all these factors, it's going to lead to hopefully fireworks both on and off the park.
I know, because one of the games I do mind was because you were just saying there, the last time we had fireworks and fire everywhere that I can recall was the first I think it was the first home game when Romanoff was in charge. I think was the 4-0 the derby with George was it Edinburgh. Can that cost £5,000 each game? £5,000 just to have fireworks and fire every game. What a man!
Spare change for Romanov. That's spare change for him. He's chilling in his submarine, with £37 million of embellished money. So he's sound.
I was going to say, is it his dough though? This is the question.
That's true.
It's loose change for someday. Whether it's for Romanov or not, we don't know.
Dude, honestly, as soon as because I read that he's going to be put on trial, I think next month, and if he's found the guilty, mate, his arsehole is going to get fucking robbed. Seriously,
I saw him
in a Lithuanian fucking jail. Yeah, I can't.
He might not need. He isn't going to be there, because they can't find him.
That's what I was. That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. It's basically just his name. He's refusing to come out of his submarine and refusing to disclose where he is, which I absolutely love, by the way.
It's so him.
What a man! But yeah, Alan, finally on that, do you? Just from what the boys said there, do you personally think, because you are the worst man in terms of anxiety going through a game. Like seriously, like you are one of the worst folk I know for it. But
you're just saying that because you sat down and watched the last couple of games with me. That's all. Like that's where that comes from.
All I needed, mate. Seriously,
yeah,
that's all I needed.
True. That's true. No, do you know what it is? I mean, just like obviously the guys have said it themselves about how important a game it is. It's massive. Every Edinburgh derby is important. Like, you know, regardless of whether it's the first one or last one or Easter Road or at Tynecastle or if it's the first fan-owned game or whatever, like every derby means something. And I mean, it's funny because like I've spoken to a mutual friend of ours who's a Hibs supporter, and he basically said similar. He says, you know, like similar to what Daniel said about the fans want to come there and spoil it, which, I mean, if the shoe was on the other foot and we were going to Easter Road, we'd be doing exactly the same thing. Like that's what derbies and rivalries are all about, isn't it? But yeah, I think it'll be an interesting game. I have the confidence of being a Hearts supporter, but there's always that bit of anxiety of don't know. But I hope that I'm not as anxious as I was against the Celtic. Put it that way.
well, I hope not, because we'll be in amongst 20,000 folks, so I won't be like sort of too particularly happy about that, mate. So, but I mean, thoughts in general. Are we like, you know, in general, I think no matter how like sort of bad or how like sort of the good you've been, was it the playing, all that just goes out of the window, like sort of when it comes to like sort of derby games. In general, are we concerned about Hibs in terms of how they've started, like as well, because they've done just as well as us, like, you know, I think it's only like a 2-goal sort of difference, but are we concerned about Hibs?
Yes and no for me. Yes, in terms of the front line. Obviously, yeah. Boyle got a niggle playing for Australia, but seems all right. So it looks like he's going to be playing. Nisbet is coming back from fitness, but looks like he'll be all right. Murphy as well. That front three is really, really good. And it's ridiculous to suggest otherwise, as I have seen some Hearts fans on social media say. But at the same time, I think that their back line is very susceptible to leaking goals. And also, speaking there about the kind of results, and obviously we are both doing very well. We're currently the 2 best performing sides in the league. However, if you looked at Hibs' opening 4 games, you would probably look at that and say 10 points is a minimum. Yeah. Whereas with us, 10 points was kind of a dream that some fans had. Yeah. And as you were saying there, you have a Hibs mate. My Hibs mate said, so Jack Ross after the Livingston game said they're delighted with 10 points and to be top of the league. And my Hibs mate said loads of Hibs fans got annoyed at that because he compared us and them. And he was saying to me, he was like, you guys should be happy with your 10 points because it's 10 points that in other times you might not have got 2 away games that you famously are rubbish at. Celtic at home is always a hard game. And Aberdeen have been consistently not good at Tynecastle, but over the last few years has been the 3rd best team in Scotland. Whereas Hibs played 3 out of the 4 clubs that you would imagine would be at the bottom of the league come the end of the season. And they didn't even beat one of them. They drew 2-2 with Dundee. So it's evident that they have firepower. They've got good players in a lot of positions, but they are very easily beaten as well, as has been shown this season.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think for me, like just to lead off what you were saying about their defence, like obviously this is looking at it from an outsider's point of view, but they've signed so many players over the last few transfer windows, be it midfielders or forwards, but I just think their defence has been very similar. Mm-hmm. Apart from goalkeepers, they seem to go through goalkeepers like nobody's business, but their defence hasn't really changed. And obviously with Gray, I think he's retiring now or retired already. I don't tend to keep up with Hibs that much, obviously, but they've got like Porteous, but I don't like Porteous is one of these guys that has an amazing reputation, but I just don't see it. Like, I don't see it. I get the hype because he's young and he's Scottish, but I don't see where that's built from. And like Doige, that boy Doige, he looks decent. Like, I'm not gonna lie, he looks all right, but I'd still, you know, would I have him in our team ahead of a Kingsley or a Cochrane or even an Aaron Hickey? I don't know if I would. You know, it's a difficult one, but like you were saying, Daniel, about their forwards as well, like Martin Boyle. Martin Boyle's their key man. There's no question of that. So I think it'll be quite interesting to see how that matchup happens during the game. I think whether it'll be Cochrane or Kingsley or even maybe Halliday at left back, I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how we combat that. But who knows? I mean, there's plenty of matches all over the park that'll be really interesting to watch, which, I mean, derby games, there's not a lot of football that gets played in derby games, is there? It's a scrap most of the time. So it depends who wants it more, really. But like you were saying about Hibs as well, our Hibs supporting friend said the same to me, that he's not been impressed with any of the games that he's seen from Hibs so far this season, like in terms of performances, which is interesting too.
I think that's been reflected in the results. Sorry, Alan. Just to say that kind of two of their opening three fixtures highlighted that they're entertaining at both ends. You know, Daniel alluded to it earlier. That front three can score plenty on their day, but yet, you know, they beat Motherwell 3-2, drew 2 each against Dundee. So there's definitely faults in that back four. And you were spot on what you said with their defence is pretty consistent. And the only real changes that you see are academy graduates. You know, you never see Hibs buy defenders. I know they've loaned this boy from Middlesbrough. Haven't seen him play. Don't know if he's any good. And yeah, I just feel as though offensively they can cause us problems, but there's certainly no reason why we can't cause them a couple issues for sure.
No, man, of course. I mean, I think, like, I do agree in the sense that I think their front line, even though the players that we've got, like, you know, just say, like, you know, putting them like against each other, like, you know, putting Ed Boyce, GMS and Ganelli, I think obviously one of the strengths they've got in that is just down to the fact that they've had more time to actually sort of get like sort of into like a groove like with each other, whereas we have essentially, in the sort of shape that we're playing now, we've only had mainly like sort of 5 games to actually try, like, you know, and like sort of like, you know, instill that. So I think there's still like a long way to actually go in terms of those, was it Ed 3 sort of like, you know, was it Ed the players to actually get a groove. But in that sense, like, you know, I mean, do you think that will be of the more sort of attacking, like sort of at the mindset, or do you think that Robbie will kind of have it in the back of his mind that, like, from what we've just like sort of was it Ed mentioned there, that their front line will probably cause us quite a few, was it Ed, the problems? So do you think that he'll be a bit more defensive minded, or?
It's hard. I think it's hard because I don't think it's going to be as cut and dry as just defensive or attacking in terms of transitions of play. I think if we keep the 3-4-3, what that allows us to do is when we get the ball, it goes to either one side of the defence. Suter has been on the right, and then it's either been a rotating cast of Kingsley or Cochrane on that kind of left-hand side of the centre halves, and they two can just drive forward. Smith has also been kind of in his, I think I said it in most recent podcast, the Philip Lam approach, where he's just taking it and just running about in the middle of the park as well and just kind of doing what he wants to do. Cochrane hasn't shown as much attacking impetus down that left-hand side, but he's still been solid when he's been there. So when we have the ball, I think we'll be really attacking in terms of hitting the byline out wide. The main way Hibs seem to be conceding this season is players who are really far out wide and putting crosses into the box. They just seem to be unable to defend that. GMS and Gino or Woodburn seem to be the type of players who just, especially Ginelli, just hitting the byline and just running at players, and Hibs haven't really been able to deal with that. However, on the flip side, with that transition, it allows us to basically switch to a 5, and that's where I think Cochrane really comes into his own. Smith has obviously, over the last few years, shown his defensive qualities. He's been Mr. Consistent. However, Cochrane has come in and been the definition of consistency so far. He's just never tried to do anything flashy. He just does what he needs to do. And he is going to be on the side of Boyle, whether he's the left wing back or he's the left centre half. And I think Nielsen will put a lot of impetus onto that. Obviously, I'm not taking away from Jamie Murphy. Jamie Murphy is obviously a good player, as he's shown. But that's the side with Suter and Smith on it. So I think Ross would go, right, we're going to focus more down the other side, because it also just coincides with Boyle. But I don't think we have much to fear if we are solid. If Boyle just starts running us ragged, then we're knackered. But I think Nielsen will just basically tell that back five, if you get what I mean, to go, never, ever feel that you can't drive forward to the ball and play it to GMS, Woodburn, Boyce, Gino, whoever's in front of you, but always be aware that they're probably going to be quite advanced. So never leave your partner on either side stranded.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. I think, like, we had a conversation about Alex Cochrane. I kind of underestimated him, but purely because of the fact that he's not done anything stand out for me, but that's good. You know, in some ways he's been consistent. Like, he's not made any major mistakes, like, which is brilliant, obviously. But I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Robbie does with that back three or back five, because now he's signed that Taylor Moore as a centre back. He's now got three recognisable centre backs in the team. So does he play all three of them and play Cochrane out on the left? Or, I mean, I don't know what Kingsley's situation is. I don't know if he's fit or whatever.
Will be back.
I think he's back now.
Because I know he was isolating over the last game that he missed.
Yeah, I think it was.
Aye. So, I mean, whether he's back, would he play Kingsley back at left back again? But then that would mean dropping Cochrane, which I think would be harsh. But yeah, I totally agree with you. The transitions of play are going to be massive. And I think I've said it as well in other podcasts that we've done for other games and other previews that we've done. It'll all depend on how good we are with the ball and then how switched on we are when we don't have it. Because that for me is the biggest problem. We saw it against Celtic when we switched off for a quick corner and, you know, things like that. We can't afford to do that because, you know, we've already been punished for it, and Hibs will know that. So they'll be trying to do these things. But it's a really strange one, because normally I feel a bit sort of anxious about an Edinburgh derby, but I actually don't about this one. I'm not totally confident we're going to win it convincingly, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like we're solid. Like you were saying, Daniel, we're solid defensively, and we are. Yes, their best point is their attack, but we're solid defensively. And as long as we stay solid defensively, particularly at home, then, you know, we should, I mean, I'm touching all the wooden things in my room right now, but we should be able to hang on and try and get something out of it.
I think that's the key battle, definitely, isn't it? Kind of Boyle up against one of Cochrane, Kingsley. Nobody's mentioned Andy Halliday either, potentially as a left wing back.
There was a reason I didn't mention him, because I
knew there was a reason that you wouldn't. But, you know, he's played there for the majority of the season so far. So there's every chance that he could continue in that role. I think there's a couple also battles sort of in the middle of the park. Benny Beningame, who I'll continue to rant and rave about, up against Jake Doyle-Hayes as well, who I think is an excellent signing for Hibs. And then you've got Boyce, hopefully ragdolling, you know, Porteous, Hanlon, or whoever. So I think the Boyle threat is the main concern, and should we deal with that, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned him there, like, you know, was it Halliday? Like, you know, for all as much as I am a fangirl to that man, like, see, if we do have was it Ed Kingsley back, that kind of puts like, for me personally, that kind of puts in the air, would I play Halliday? Because I don't know about you, but Kingsley, I've started to like him when he's on the left of that sort of the back three. I've actually kind of liked him, like, in terms of like he is fantastic, like, sort of when he is out on the, like, you know, on the at the far left. But there's just something about it that he feels a bit more, was it like sort of compact, like, sort of in that role. And like we said as well, like, you know, was it Cochrane seems to be really consistent throughout his time here. But part of me feels, genuinely, like, part of me feels that you want Halliday in these sorts of games. Because we said it's going to be more of a scrap.
He's up for the battle, isn't he, Andy Halliday?
More than anything,
he's not.
He is.
He is.
Yes, this is debate. Here we go.
I'm telling you right now, any average punter places a bet builder on 365 for this derby, Andy Halliday is a shoo-in to be booked.
That's not
100%.
Being up to the
100%.
fight means. What that means is that he's bad at controlling his temper.
Yes, Adam, son, get in there.
I knew me and Ewan would disagree at some point.
I know. It's all good. It's all good.
So,
boys, it's fine. You just fucking was it?
Yes.
Grab yourself a cup of tea.
I genuinely agree with what you said about Cochrane and Kingsley. However, I actually would play Cochrane in the left of the three and Kingsley at left wing back purely because
I was going to nick that point, so I'm glad you made it.
No, yes, it's my point. Purely because in the Halloween derby in the Scottish Cup, Kingsley kept Boyle quiet the whole game. Boyle didn't really seem to know how to deal with Kingsley. Now, of course, this is when Kingsley was in his red hot form, doing amazing up until January, and then he kind of fell off a bit. Boyle himself wasn't in great form, so obviously they're coming into it where Kingsley's had to miss loads of time with isolating, and Boyle is on fire, so it might not work that way. But I'd personally keep Cochrane in that middle of the three because I think he's done really well. Play Kingsley, and then it allows you to take it. Say you want Taylor Moore to come on to show the game up later on, you can drop Cochrane from the left hand side of the three out to left wing back. You can then take either Kingsley off if he's not able to play a full 90, or you drop somebody like Herring into the back three, take him off as well. But then the fundamental point about Halliday, obviously, as Adam said, that's what everybody says. Everybody goes, right, listen, Andy Halliday isn't going to be the best footballer in your team, but what he's going to be very good at is winning his battles, being right up for big games, and breaking up the play. I would argue so far in a Hearts shirt, he's never done it once in a big game. Every game against Celtic, all he's done is just get booked and then be walking on a tightrope the whole time. Scott Brown said it after the Aberdeen game that he went, I just walked up to Halliday and went, I'm having you the day. And 9 minutes later, Halliday got booked. And Brown went, that's it, I've done my job. Like,
we've only had a handful of big games since he's been here.
But he's never turned up in any of them.
I just think, I mean,
he's turned up against Cove, and that's it.
Well, and that's enough. How dare you?
No, I think I'll jump in just briefly there. I think that you just simmer over there. You just simmer over there. You're all right. Don't worry. just simmer down. You're fine. For me, like you're saying, Daniel, I think you're absolutely right in terms of the back three and the wing backs, etc. I like Andy Halliday.
Adam, let's just have our own fucking conversation right now. Let's just patch
these two, mate.
Listen, but the thing is, I like Andy Halliday for what he gives you, in certain situations, but it's a really difficult one. And I think there are players that I would rather play ahead of Andy Halliday in this game. Like, I wouldn't be complaining if he was on the bench and brought on, or, to change a system or to change a setup or whatever. But I think we've got options ahead of Andy Halliday. And I said it to yourself, Ewan, a few weeks ago when I was talking about like lineups and formations and stuff. Andy Halliday for me right now is a third choice left back when they're all fit. And probably, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen Cammy Devlin play. No one has. So I don't know what he's going to bring, but the hype around him is there, whether you read into that or not. But Andy Halliday is probably fourth, if not fifth choice centre back. But I'm not taking away from the fact that he loves to wind people up, and it's the fans feed off that. They absolutely love it. Like, he's not a great footballer, but no. He brings that. He brings that, and like you said about Scott Brown, that battle lasted not very long, but. It's just nice to see someone kicking Scott Brown, to be honest. I applaud him just for that.
Yeah, before I come on to you, Adam, I mean, I like, for all as much as it pains me to say, I do agree with what you're both saying. Look, I would much rather... I'd say, let me fucking speak, Jesus. Don't fucking piss your pants, honestly. So... Basically, no, I do agree with the fact, look, it doesn't really matter, if you play, sort of, was it Ed the Kingsley on the left, was it Ed Cochrane? They're both as good for those roles. And personally, I would, I would always pick Andy Halliday to play at left, like sort of at the wing back, because I personally putting them side by side, I think he's more effective when he's out on the at the far left as like opposed to in the center. However, when we said there, was it the Benny is just been absolutely fantastic so far. But when it comes to you sort of said it there, Daniel, Haring for me personally can kind of be like a yes or no personally, because I don't think he has been as consistent as he should be. Yes, I fucking went there. Let's go. Let's fucking have it out. Right?
MacGyver's raging.
Good. Let's fucking have it out. Right?
He's going to leave again, lads. He's going to
leave.
Right? Haring, right? Haring is a fantastic player. There's no doubt about that, right? When he has we have said on many a podcast, when he does have the ball, he's so calm, he's so composed. Some of those long balls like he plays are just fucking precise, and it's great to actually see. And I've said it about 10 times as well, right? But it's the mobility that always concerns me. He's no exactly the greatest, was it the turn of pace throughout the season. Some of his sliding to tackles have was it Ed that came off. Some of them haven't. So, and like you said yourself there, as well, Alan. We've not seen Cammy Devlin play yet, so we don't know what he'll was it Ed to be like as such. But I don't know, even though I would rather play him out on the actual left, it's just to have him in there because again, yeah, he might be a bit of a hothead, but again, for these sort of games, especially for a derby, it's a scrap, and it's just to have a person like that in there. I think for certain parts and the key parts of the actual game will actually help you out more than it won't. So I will pass this down to my good friend Adam. Adam, what do you think, sir?
I'm inclined to agree with you, mate. I know that. Look, I think that Stephen Kingsley is probably our most underrated player.
Yeah.
In the entire squad. I'll say that much. I think that, like Daniel's correctly said, and I can't believe I've even ushered those words.
Fucking time that's ever been said. Jesus.
I cannot believe I've ushered those words. Just as well as not on Perth to Paisley. This is why I can be nice on here. I think it gives us that sort of. I don't know. He seems the most offensive out the three left wing backs that we've got. Yet Andy Halliday, I think, can do what Stephen Kingsley does. So I don't think, as much as I'd like Stephen Kingsley to be back, I wouldn't keep my eyes out if Andy Halliday was at left wing back, and because I just feel as though we've got to go all out to try and win the game.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as you've said, he's up for a fight. I think without Andy Halliday, we do seem a bit soft in the middle of the park, and a Big Pete could possibly be that guy. He seems like he wants to be a hard man,
Daniel's cap is about to fucking blow off. Seriously,
but I don't get that same impression that I do. I know that Andy Halliday's going to be up for it. Is Big Pete going to be up for it? I don't know. It's an intriguing one. I'd want to include Halliday, but if it's in any position, it's at left wing back. Despite the fact that I feel as though Stephen Kingsley could be available and is probably the best equipped to play that role. So that's why I've got this selection headache. I took my time, but I got my point out there eventually.
It's all good, mate. Well, we'll pass it over to the side of the boys that are obviously not happy about what we just said, Adam. We'll be at the quiet for the next 5 minutes. I'll let Daniel try and come depose himself, and I'll pass it on to Alan first.
It's a good plan.
Good plan. you simmer down as well. No, I just think, I do agree. Don't get me wrong. I do agree in some points of what you're saying, but I think it depends on who he plays in midfield. And I think because we've seen Haring and Benny playing in middle together in that too, that works
He's not going to change from that. I agree.
No.
He's not going to change from that. And I think I get what your point is about Andy Halliday being a left back and being effective, but I just feel that, and Daniel will probably agree with this because he literally said it about 10 minutes ago, that Alex Cochrane is the left back right now, if he's not in the left of the three. And that for me has worked well. So I'm not saying that Andy Halliday wouldn't be effective, because he would. He'd kick Martin Boyle up in the air the first time he got the chance to. But I just think that we've got a settled system and a settled plan, and Halliday hasn't really been overly involved in that. To my knowledge anyway, we've had sort of Cochrane, playing either left back or on the back three. And I don't get me wrong, I like Andy Halliday. I do. I said it before. I like him as a player, but in this game and in this system and the way that I want us to set up, I don't know whether I'd go with him.
Does Alex Cochrane or Stephen Kingsley score that goal at St Mirren? That's not for me to say.
That's true. No, that's it. That's exactly it.
Tug on my heartstrings, Andy.
That's no. You're absolutely right on that. You are absolutely right on that. Do they? Probably not. And I've said that to you.
Stephen Kingsley has scored Lakers the whole time he's been here.
Right, hold on a second. First of all, that's in the championship. And second of all, Andy Halliday was hardly a raker. He's on the edge of the box.
Exactly.
Stephen Kingsley is from further out.
It was Halliday's was less good. Yes, it was. Right, I've got 5 points. I've got 5 points here to break down systematically everything you've just said. Right, first of all,
I'm an evil genius. I really love it.
Right. First of all, I will say, I agree that Halliday is more effective at left wing back than centre mid, because I think in centre mid he is a 1 out of 10, and at left wing back he's at most 4. So I think it's like, that's an improvement.
Wow.
I'm not even sure I can back that, Daniel. I'm not even sure I can back that.
I like Andy Halliday.
Yes, Alan, come back. That's a good time.
Right, let him make his point.
I don't like Andy Halliday as a player. I like him as a guy. He seems sound, right?
I don't know. I'm not even sure you like him as a guy.
I love his Twitch streams. I think he's fine. I actually think I don't watch Open Goal, but when I've heard him on Sports Sound, when I've heard him on that, I think he's quite a good analysis. He's quite a good pundit generally. I hope he does well in that. I just don't like him but I think we have better players, as Alan was saying, in his 2 positions. I think he's correctly 3rd choice at left wing back, and I think he is at least 5th choice for centre mid. Now, moving into centre mid and speaking about Peter, I don't agree with the point where you go, well, Hearing often can be 50-50 with side challenges, but Halliday is much less than 50-50. Halliday, as you said, will just kick people, whereas half the time at least, Hearing will win the ball, take it, and then we start moving forward with a play. Additionally, I think, Adam, what you said there about how Halliday will be up for it, will Hearing be up for it? Hearing has proven in multiple derbies that he's up for it. He has proven in multiple derbies he can win us derbies. He's proven in multiple derbies he can change derbies, like when him and Naismith came on and just changed everything.
Started up front for one of them.
Exactly. He can do it all against him.
I forgot all about that.
I think Hearing, and I know obviously no one was making the argument to play Halliday in the middle alongside Benny. I know it was more about left wing back, but I disagree with the notion that to be in this game, you need to have somebody to kick the shit out of someone. Because I think that's been the attitude of Hibs for a long time, that, we've got folk who'll be up for the fight and stuff like that. And it's like, but have they ever been? Like, you always hear it about this one time we'll have somebody who'll play in the middle of the park and have steal and just be winning everything in the middle. And then we've just went, okay, we'll play better football. We'll be more.
Would you not just say that we were smarter about it though? I get what you mean with Hibs, because look at the numpties that they've had, like Derek Riordan, his elbow and Scatchel, for example. Yeah. Absolutely no need for that.
I don't think you necessarily need someone up for the fight like Halliday, quote unquote, would be. You need somebody smarter like Hearing is. Hearing and Brown during the Aberdeen game were constantly battering.
And you don't believe Halliday's that?
But I just don't believe Halliday's intelligent enough to do it. Halliday is that, just you wind him up and you let him go, and he just runs and kicks and jumps and he does everything. Whereas Hearing, Benny, that type of player. Suter and Halkett are quite similar as well, I feel, where they're kind of like, right, we know that we're going to be in a fight here, but we're going to be smart about it. Scott Brown's like that. Scott Brown's really good at winding other people up to get like red cards, bookings, giveaway fouls. Benny, however, had Brown against Aberdeen. He just manoeuvred him intelligently. He just went, I'm not going to let you get to me. And Brown didn't know how to deal with that. I feel like Halliday's like that, but doesn't have the advantage of being able to do it to some people. Willie Gibson had Halliday last season and was just like, I've got you, mate. If you can't do it against Willie Gibson at Queen of the South, you're not going to be able to do it in an Edinburgh derby.
No, I do, sorry to jump in, but I do kind of agree with that. I think it's, like you say, the intelligence thing is a big part of it. And everybody knows that you wind up Halliday and that's it. Like, you get in his head, like you're saying about Scott Brown doing it. It's very much, I just think it's an experience thing in terms of an Edinburgh derby as well. And I mean, like I said, I would never have Andy Halliday anywhere near the midfield in a game against Hibs.
He played in the biggest derby in Scotland countless times and times again. Surely that's got to count as experience.
But that's different.
I never fucking watched them, but that's not my point. I'm just saying he's got the experience there to put that mindset into a derby. That's what, like, you know what I mean? And just to follow up on that, like in that, mate, I do totally get the intelligence thing, right? But 1 out of 10 players, just to have that fiery side to him, because me personally, I don't think Haring has the fiery side that you kind of need to this. I'm not saying that
he's got the intelligence. Right? He's got the intelligence. Not
he has. No. Yeah. Absolutely. But to just have that one player out of 10, just to add something to it, that's like, you know what I mean.
I think that's Michael Smith.
Give it a bit of spice. Really?
And Halliday hates Hibs for 2016 as well, so he'll want some kind of personal revenge.
For example, Walker came on against Aberdeen, right? And all he did for 9 minutes was just try and kick Scott Brown. And it's like, see, when you try to win a game, that's just a waste of a jersey. Just somebody going, oh, I'm just going to try and annoy somebody, kick them and stuff like that. I want 11 players who are going, I'm going to be smart and win this game for my team. I don't want a player who's just running on going, I'm just going to fight. Because I think if you want to, and I know that's not what you're saying. You're not wanting Halliday to run on and just start swinging punches at folk. I know that's not what you mean. You mean that you want somebody with grit, determination to break up the play, get in people's heads and stuff like that. I think we have 2 players like that. Benny to break up play and just annoy people by being better than them, just by I'm better than this. And fair enough. Smith is so good at being like just getting in folks' heads, nicking them and stuff like that, but is good enough to not allow it to affect his game and cost himself either bookings, red cards. He very rarely gives away fouls in like very dangerous areas unless he absolutely has to. But I absolutely know this is going to end with Michael Smith getting sent off and Andy Halliday scoring the winner. I just know that's going to happen.
Going on Sky Bet right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyhow, like, you know, I mean, in my heart of hearts, like, genuinely, for all as much as I would, like, you know, I mean, Adam, you would probably like think the same. I would probably want Halliday to actually play, but if Kingsley is back and he's fit, I don't think he will. Like, personally, I like, you know what I mean, like you know, for all as much as I would want him in again, like, you know, we've said it all, but personally, Kingsley, you know, I don't know what it is about Kingsley, but like you said yourself, like, he's one of our most underrated players on there, and I think if he is fit, I think he will to play. But just to throw another one at you before we move on, a guy that has been with us for, I don't know if it's 3 or 4 years now, and personally, he's not reached the heights that I genuinely thought he would. And we sort of had mentioned at the start there, we've got Taylor Moore in. Do you take a massive gamble and do you replace him with Halkett? Now, before you answer, all right, okay. Before you, like, you know, before, no, because what?
Move on. Next one.
No, right. I mean, Because again, we've mentioned it on the quite a few times. I'm sure that we can all agree that Halkett, I wouldn't even I'd barely say that he is a safe pair of hands because again, throughout last season, especially with it Putter not actually was it at the being there, I've not been convinced fully by him since he's been here, right? And I can Taylor's face is gritting up, boys. Jesus. With Taylor Moore coming in, right, and I might be right in saying that he is a right-sided centre back with the option to actually play right back as well, right? So, do you think just with the presence of Suter there, that enhances his game, or do you feel as if that in the long term that won't be enough? Because I'm sure that we can all agree that Suter possibly after this campaign, who knows, he might not actually was it to be here. So would you think, maybe not for this game, but if you were to make that gamble, do you think that he could make more of an impact than Halkett would? I'll go to Alan on this one.
I like how you're coming to me first on that.
On the safe side, aye.
Thanks, keeping it safe, keeping it safe. No, I mean, Halkett hasn't overly impressed me. He's been average, I would say. But like you say there, when he plays next to Suter in that 3, he looks better. And I don't know if it's just because Suter kind of carries him a little bit. But to be fair to Halkett, the last few weeks, he has actually done quite well.
Oh, no, yeah.
His recent form isn't actually that bad. So, and in terms of taking a gamble and putting Taylor Moore in, this for me is not the sort of game to gamble. I think
fair enough.
Having the Hibs forward line of, like we were saying earlier, if it is going to be Murphy, Nisbet and Boyle, that's a 3 that, Taylor Moore's not had any experience of Scottish football apart from 10 minutes off the bench in the last game. Halkett, okay, he's not the most technically fantastic of defenders, but he's sound enough in these sorts of games and he's been involved in them and he knows what it's about. So that goes back to what we were talking about before. But I just think that for me, the 3 should be Suter, Halkett, and probably Cochrane if he's fit, if Kingsley's available. That would be my 3. Taylor Moore could come on during the game to change it if the system needs to be changed to a back 4 or anything like that. But yeah, this Taylor Moore guy gets a decent write-up, but I don't think this is the sort of game for him, to be honest.
I want Adam to speak next, but I just want to say you're coming to the podcast that actually has been sticking up for Halkett during a lot of this. So you've asked the wrong people this question. But
no. Look, I know. Look at it. I mean, just before you answer, mate, I just wanted to kind of throw it out there because Halkett's. What I'm trying to say is Halkett's not, I don't think, has reached the potential that I thought he would, because generally when he came to us, I think it was from Livingston, I genuinely thought that this was going to be a young up and was it come in Scottish centre back maybe in time, that's the kind of vibe I got from him. But for me personally, he's just never got to that height.
Look, and I understand your skepticism given the range of clubs that were supposedly in for him when we signed him.
Yeah,
I think John Suter's reintroduction is massive. I think also playing in this back 3, because that's what he basically enhanced his reputation at Livingston with, playing alongside Declan Gallagher, Alan Lithgow, and again, I can understand you wanting to give Taylor Moore a start. I just think the first start in an Edinburgh derby, that's a big fixture to be sort of chucked into when your only previous experience with the club is, as Alan rightly says, a 10-minute cameo at Tannadice. I think Halkett has previous, obviously, knowledge of this fixture. He's played in a couple and has been, solid so far this season. I can't really fault anything bar, maybe a goal at Parkhead, as we mentioned, Daniel, and got a ton of stick for.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I think it would be harsh to drop him for this game, given his recent form and the fact that he knows the fixture, he knows, the opponents that he's going to be coming up against. And for Taylor Moore to be handed his first start in an Edinburgh derby, I don't care what position you play in, maybe not as much an offensive position, but I think for any of the defensive positions is a big gamble, and I don't think it's one that you can really afford to take.
Fair dues.
I think you've kind of just taken all my points. So I think I would agree, Halkett has not lived up to the hype that he's had since coming here. Obviously, we got Livingston's captain, who was hotly tipped for multiple Scotland caps, and he's never really shown that. I would argue until this season. Apart from Parkhead away, I think Halkett has been one of our best players, and a large aspect of that is this back three. When he's in the middle of that back three and he's not in charge of taking the ball out like Suter and Cochrane/Kingsley have done, he just looks so comfortable. Whenever we transition into a 4, he starts to look a bit suspect again. But I just think it's because he is one of those defenders that is best in the middle of a 3. Like that obviously limits him. Of course, I'm not going to sit here and go, that now means he's Varane. But he's clearly doing very well in this 3. I think it's a bit mental that it took Robbie a full season to work that out. Additionally, I think, obviously, listen, Halkett had a not great season last season, but I think a massive aspect of that was because he was constantly having to worry about what either Berra or Popescu was doing, and he was in a 4. So he was basically babysitting his other centre half in a system that he himself wasn't comfortable in. I also take the point. I also take the point that if Suter leaves, where does that leave Halkett? That's a different argument, and an argument I think is a very valid one. That will be interesting to see that how much of it is the system or how much of it is John Suter. Obviously, we've seen a couple of times Suter had to come off against Stirling Albion in the Cup, and Halkett looked fine, but that's still an Albion. It will be interesting to see if Suter, for example, at the next international break gets called up to Scotland and say he plays really well and plays in the most recent game of the next fixture, so isn't ready yet to play. So it's a back 3 of Halkett, Moore, Cochrane. That will be a big test. But for this derby, I think the only one that you can kind of debate between will it be Cochrane or will it be Kingsley in that 3?
I'm nervous enough for this derby. Never mind the next Scotland setup where John Suter could potentially feature. Let's just take it a game at a time. Jeez.
It's happening.
Well,
my God.
Well, no, I've got one. Since we've kind of covered the Halkett situation, I've got one for you. In terms of a forward situation, do you play Ben Woodburn ahead of a Ginnelly or a Gary Mackay-Steven? That for me, I'm on the fence. I don't know whether I would.
You're always on the fucking fence. Come on,
but
put your
I don't know. I don't know whether I would or whether I
statement.
wouldn't, because you're just bitter because Andy Halliday's not getting any love.
My love is right here with Adam, mate. So fucking keep that to yourself.
It's just you.
It's all right, Adam Hen. I know.
But no, I think it'll be interesting. I don't know whether he would play Ben Woodburn or not. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say on that one.
See, this my podcast partner made a very good point to me in our latest episode that I hadn't factored in, because I had this thought as well, and I was going to start a front 3 of Gino, Boyce and Woodburn. I was going to drop GMS because I know it's weird that in the last 2 games he's won us both the penalties, but apart from that he's not done a lot. I know that that's quite a big thing. Like, it's not just like he gave away a foul and stuff and it's like, yeah, that's bad. That's a big thing, but I feel like he's not been up to it recently. However, Adam made the point that GMS just always scores against Hibs. That's just what he does. And what was it? You said the thing where it was like he's almost never not played against Hibs and scored.
His Aberdeen record is ridiculous. I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but I'd imagine it's only, a Twitter search away or whatnot, but he has got a fantastic personal record against Hibs.
That was a big thing for me. I was like, And it's obviously it's kind of stupid because he might play and just be atrocious, and we go.
The goals are guaranteed to dry up in the maroon shirt now.
Exactly.
I was going to say you've done it now. You've finished it now.
Exactly, but as a result, I probably would just keep it GMS, Boyce and Gino. And I think the positive that we have from Ben Woodburn, and listen, still got a few days. We don't know what's going to happen with Barry Mackay. He may be in by that time as well. But as you will hear in our most recent episode, I have very little knowledge of Barry Mackay, so don't know much about how good he is. But I would personally start GMS, Boyce and Gino. But I wouldn't be bothered if GMS dropped out for Gino. I would be bothered. For Woodburn. I would be bothered if Gino dropped out for Woodburn, though.
Right. I'm going to kind of make a point with your point, Alan, just as you've said there. So obviously, the impact that Gino had against the Dundee United, obviously different team, but you saw the impact that he had as soon as he Ed came on. So my point to your point is that, because Daniel, I was actually the same. I genuinely thought that for last week's result, I genuinely thought that Woodburn would be ahead of GMS. I genuinely thought that. But again, just to point out, Gino had such a big was it the role to actually play for that game. So my question to that question is, depending on how the first half went, would you start Gino? Because I genuinely don't think that for the impact in games that he actually has, I genuinely don't think that, not as of yet, he can carry that throughout a whole game. I think there's a certain spell in games where it could be from 30, maybe like a half, where he can be just constant. Whereas for the full game, I don't think he's got that in it yet. I think maybe just in terms of the of his the fitness. But would you keep him on the bench to maybe have a bigger impact throughout the game? Or
running at tired legs and whatnot.
Aye, exactly.
You're suggesting he's the new Jamie Walker or something, Ewan?
Possibly.
Do not insult him to that level.
Oh, I was going to say, don't go there.
I think that's a very valid point. I don't think our wingers will ever play 90 minutes. No. I think Robbie's confirmed that they'll at most get 60, and then we will be changing shape. So basically, Nandwilly is never going to start, and it's going to be either say GMS and Gino start. GMS at 60 minutes or 50 minutes, gets taken off for the other one. So Woodburn comes on and he runs at tired legs. And then 10 minutes later, in the 60th minute, Gino gets brought off and Nandwilly goes, and then we go two up top with that in the middle. It's hard to say because we don't know what Woodburn's impact is yet, because we've only seen him start. So Woodburn might be one of those players that you bring off with half an hour left and he just runs at people like Gino. Gino has shown both, because Gino, as you said, showed against Dundee United just that will to just run. But then he did it in the first 5 minutes against Celtic to get us the first goal as well. So, I mean, it's a great problem to have, that he's so effective. No. You can go, do we want him to be effective from the start, or do we want him to be effective for the last half an hour? I think the big point is, I don't know if GMS is like that. I don't know if GMS can come on with 30 minutes left and sprint at tired legs, just because I don't think that's as much his game. He seems to be the more he's still a winger, so it's still faster, but he seems to be more concerned, slower, because it's just with his feet, his feet move fast, but he physically doesn't. And Gino also is quite a bit bigger than him in terms of muscle. Gino can run through people.
Oh GMS, boy, I would let that man throw me about any day.
Exactly, he's gorgeous, right? He's a beautiful human being. GMS is quite wee and he gets pushed off the ball quite easy. So I know I've literally just said, I did just say start GMS because I like the idea of bringing him off for either. So you could start GMS and Woodburn and then bring GMS off for Gino, or you start GMS and Gino, but I'd always take GMS off first, and then the other one can be Nandwilly's sub, if you get what I mean.
What a novelty having a plethora of wide players to choose from.
I know, right? I know.
Wow.
What a shock.
It's not like we've been crying out for it for years or anything.
No, not at all.
Especially decent ones as well. It makes a change from the likes of Elliot Freer and Jordan Roberts and my man Aidy White as well. Aidy White at left wing was an experiment I never want to have repeated.
I liked
ever
Aidy White.
Of course you fucking would. Jesus Christ. Get yourself a fucking room. Jesus.
He wasn't good, but he tried a lot, and I respect that.
No,
absolutely
he wasn't good. No.
This is like an ongoing. That's the
only thing he did throughout his whole fucking career was that one move in fucking Celtic. Aye, granted, I will take it all day, but fucking Alan had a love affinity with that half-haired fucking boy. Like,
this is
an Aidy White hangover.
This is an ongoing meme between Ewan and I. He's the Andy Halliday lover, and I'm the Aidy White tolerator.
Tolerator. I love that wording.
I was the founding member of the Aidy White fan club purely for banter reasons because I just thought it was hilarious.
But Robert Borthwick said he looked like a pigeon, and I could never get that out of my head. He did just look like a pigeon.
There it is.
You know what? I see it now. I see it.
Yeah.
Oh well, it's nice to have upgraded in the wide positions, and if we get Barry Mackay, I'm kind of similar. I don't know huge amounts about him, but surely he's an upgrade.
Thank you, because he made me feel awful for knowing nothing about him.
The thing is, it's one of those. I'm happy that I don't know much about him because I'm like, well, I'll be interested to see what he brings.
You could be pleasantly surprised, rather than like incredibly underwhelmed.
Well, exactly. It's one of those. I don't know anything about Cammy Devlin either. He could turn out to be the next Kante, or he could be an absolute bomb scare. Who knows?
But mate, you just want to hug him. He's such a nice young lad, isn't he? You know what I mean?
Lovely.
Such a nice young lad. Well, while we're on that, boys, and we're talking about the team itself, how do we set up and who do we play? I know we've pretty much named our team, but I would love to hear what you guys think and in terms of how we set up, who do we play, when do we change it, etc.
Can we just go with starting lineups because we'll be here for about a fortnight?
Well, that's what I was hanging at, Alan. Fucking hell. Well, since you've we've not heard from Adam in a small bit. So, mate, what are your thoughts on it? How, if you were Robbie right now, mate, how would you set up? And unfortunately, we can't have Halliday playing in all 10 roles, unfortunately, mate. So yeah. How are we setting up, mate?
Shock you go to me first to apply the most pressure. Right.
All right.
I'm just going to give you names.
Go for it.
Gordon, Suter, Halkett, Cochrane, Halliday, Smith, Beningame, Haring, GMS, Boyce, Woodburn.
Oh, mate, I don't even have to have my save because we both agree. God, we're going to be great, mates. Do you want to swap? Was it a podcast, mate?
Alan, you come over and get the face.
Gladly, mate. Gladly, initially.
Right, Alan. What?
That was with thought. It was tricky. Like, don't. It was with thought. Yeah, it seems easy just reeling off 11 names, but when it's actually, it's tough.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll go with Gordon in goal. I'll go with the back three of Suter, Halkett, and Cochrane. Then left back, I'll go Kingsley if available. If not, then probably Andy Halliday. Right back, Michael Smith, obviously. Centre back or centre midfield pairing of Haring and Benny, and front three of GMS, Boyce, and I'm gonna shout for Woodburn as well. I think Gino off the bench could be a game changer.
Good stuff. Daniel, what are we saying, mate?
Ross Stewart in goals. So Gordon, Suter, Halkett, Cochrane, Kingsley, Smith, the beautiful Austrian, and Benny. And then I'm going to go GMS, Boyce, and Gino, but I would be happy with any of the front three variations, which is a thing I never thought I'd say as a Hearts fan. But I genuinely would be. But I just start those three just for Gino's impact, and then Woodburn off the bench, especially because he's been playing for Wales.
Fair dues, man. Fair dues.
Fair point, actually.
Yeah,
fair dues, man. And just while we're on that point there, between myself and Alan, we've got a head-to-head league happening where he's still fucking losing. So we want some scores and we want some scorers as well. What are we thinking on that one? I think this is probably out of the 5 games we've played so far, for me personally, I think this is the hardest to actually know how it's going to pan out. I don't know what you think, guys, but to put a pinpoint, like, I don't know if we're going to win. I don't know if we're going to lose. I really don't know. It's a really hard one to try and at the pinpoint. So since we came to you last, Daniel, how are you feeling on it?
I think with all the hype built up behind it, both clubs being top of the league, unbeaten, first game fan owned, Hibs coming to try and do it, so much hype, it's going to be 0-0.
Oh,
I think it's going to massively underperform, and it's either going to be 0-0 or 4-4. But I'm going with 0-0 because I just think everyone's going to be like, yes, and leave going, that was shite, eh?
That's literally what everybody will think after they fucking had watched this, mate. We've been talking about all the hype and literally like, what the fuck did we just watch?
We're adding to it. We're adding to the hype.
Yeah, exactly.
Alan, are you going to be going for a 0-0 getting on the fence and all, or?
No, I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to the Hearts, and I'll give you a scorer. I'll give you a scorer of the winner.
Oh, let me guess, boys.
No, it's not actually. It's not actually. I think he'll get the first one, but I don't think he'll get the second. I think, and shoot me if I'm wrong or whatever, but I think Nanduli for the winner off the bench.
Please.
I think Nanduli for the winner off the bench.
That's a big shout.
Exactly. Interesting choice.
I've just got that in my head. He's a system changer, a game changer. I'm praying for him to get a goal. I make no secret of how highly I rate Nanduli, despite what a lot of people think and say about him. So I would absolutely love him to get a derby winner. I think that'd be brilliant.
Shut a lot of folk up. I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely, man. I like it. Adam, I don't know if you're thinking the same as me as a Andy Halliday hat trick. I'm not sure where you think of that, but I don't know. I really don't know.
He'll bag at least one, won't he?
Oh, definitely, mate, for sure.
And I'll just be sat there, arms crossed at the back of the main stand, raging.
I'll never look so forward to a recording in all my life.
Mate, can I say we're in the wheat field near the front row. So if Andy Halliday scores, Ewan's on the pitch.
Oh, mate, if we're going to be on the left side, right? If Andy Halliday is going to play, so many t-shirts, so many banners, so many rose petals, pants. Fucking hell. Like,
to be fair, Daniel's touted him for the winner because he reckons that Michael Smith will get sent off as well.
That's
so
true.
It's going to happen.
That is true.
No, what did I say on our recording? I said 2-1 Hearts.
You did,
and I think I said GMS and Boyce to score. Boyle for them.
That sounds right.
Fair dues. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but 2-1 seems to be the score that kind of that pops up the most.
The go-to, isn't it?
Yeah, no, man, exactly. You know, I was genuinely thinking that it's going to be 3-2 Hearts. I reckon there's going to be a lot of goals in there. I think there will be some the goals in there, but I reckon it's going to be a 3-2 win for Hearts, and I reckon this is like, honestly, like, I'm fucking mental, like, sort of when it comes to score, like, sort of predictions, but I wouldn't put it past Boyce getting a hat trick. I know that sounds mental, but he deserves one. I think. I'm
going to message him saying now, right?
Do it.
I'm going to do it on the podcast right now. I'm going to message him
fucking
saying that he's been expected to get a hat trick, and otherwise you're a failure.
Fucking hell.
Well, this is Ewan from Since I Was Young, so he knows who it is.
He knows. Definitely.
Kind of blame on there, 100%.
Well, can you make sure you say Ewan from Since I Was Young? His views do not represent those of the entire podcast. Thanks.
Fucking shitebag. So you are.
And I'll chime in while we're at it that Hearts 3-2 to win is 28-1 on Sky Bet. So you're coming down from your 66-1s. Like you're getting there,
mate. That was a fucking quality shout. That had draw written all over it. But beforehand, do not lie.
You said
to me.
6 goals.
That game had a draw written all over it, mate. That game had a draw written all over it. But unfortunately, no, sorry. Was it?
I can't say anything because you're still beating me in the predictions, so I can't say anything.
How is he predicting 3-3 draws beating you?
Because it was 66-1.
It was a draw. I said we'd win. I think you predicted a draw, didn't you? Or maybe you predicted a Hearts win, actually.
It was a draw.
I know, but did you predict a win in that game? I think we both did, actually.
It's 66-1 draw all fucking day, mate.
I can't mind. Anyway, I'm losing, so yeah. take no notice of my predictions right now.
Fair dues, man. But yes, I take it you two will be at the game, yeah?
Yes, indeed. Making the journey up. What a blast. Better not be underwhelming for that. So
you've got to get free air. I forgot about that now.
Fucking rather you than me, mate, honestly.
Well, it's my first game back in probably more than 20 months, so it better not be a fucking 0-0.
Oh, don't say that. You've fucked us now. It's going to be a nightmare.
I've been getting pelters all game saying, don't say anything, Ewan, don't say that, don't say anything. You just fucked it up by the end. I didn't even have to say fuck all.
I just don't want us to get cancelled, mate. That was all I was worried about.
Fucking mate.
Cancel culture and all that.
Get to fuck, but yeah. So I think, if unless there's anything else for you guys to kind of point out or anything in general we want to talk about, any sort of blips or anything like that, or
we've got a stunning team now, and I'm buzzing about it. Most of our squad are really attractive, and that's a massive.
Oh, mate! Like how many? Like you guys will probably think the same. I mean, I'll probably say it a bit too much. Craig Gordon, fucking. Mate,
exactly.
Like seriously, like I don't know what it is about that man, but it just enchants me. Like I don't know what it like. I think that's the key word. It's just the smile. It's the hair. It's the finely.
Am I gonna have to like watch you when we're sitting in Tynecastle? I'm gonna have to stop you from getting on the pitch.
Like literally, if there was ever a time to do a shrieker moment. Like, babe, you better lock up Andy Halliday. Fuck me. Like, what? Oh, God, they slipped down there. Sorry, Andy.
All I'm going to say is I could not give a shit what they looked like just as long as they absolutely batter these bastards. Let's get fucking wired in. Come on.
Absolutely. Let's go on the boys. On the boys. But yeah, I think that kindly wraps things up on there. So yeah, boys, thank you very much for joining us. It is greatly appreciated. And as we said at the start of the podcast, we will leave the Perth to Paisley podcast in the description. So please check those boys out. We've got an array of fantastic podcasts and more so just recently the Liam Med the Boys interview. It was a really good one, so please check that out. But boys, from me and Alan, thank you very much for joining us. It's greatly appreciated, boys.
Thank you very much.
Our pleasure, mate. Thank you for having us.
Definitely.
And anytime, and hopefully we will have you back on at some point, and it'll be a good one. But yeah, we will see you on Sunday, hopefully, and it'll be a quality day, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Aye. Fingers crossed. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us, guys, and we will see you in the next one. Alrighty, we will catch you on Sunday.
Yeah.
Bye.